2. Vikings roll past the Texans in dominating fashion. Final score 34-7. Breaking it all down next on the Locked On Vikings postcast.
You are Locked On Vikings postcast, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's going on? Back in the lab, back at it. Another Vikings postcast episode right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. That's your team every day. You got myself, Luke Inman, at Luke_Spinman, Gophers legend Ron Johnson, host of the Ron Johnson Show, and the glue of the operation right here, Sam Ekstrom, host of the Minnesota Football Party. That's every Monday and every Thursday. Lots to get into, guys. But first, quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet just $5, and you get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Go visit FanDuel.com today to get started. Ron, I said it week 1. You laughed in my face. I said it week 2. You laughed again. I'm going to ask you one more time. I'm looking at the schedule. I can't find a loss, man. What do you think? What were your biggest takeaways, kind of your 8 topics from this one?
I gave you props last week.
That's true. You did.
I think on the show, I gave you props. Yeah, you know, I'm struggling too. I will say the Packers did look good though. Not great. Tennessee's not good. But the Packers defense does look solid. They look, but I think Will Levis is just not seeing the field well. But yeah, it's tough when you look at the rest of the schedule. Like the toughest games, like I said, when I did the Vikings predictions on Vikings.com, that's why I can't wait till the season ends. Because I think now they get to 12 wins. Like the wins we had them getting to 11 or 10. The 49ers and the Texans weren't it. I had them losing to both those teams. I had them beating the Giants. I had them beating the Jets, though. I do have them beating the Jets in London. And I had them beating the Packers because – are they at home or on the road for the Packers?
On the road in Lambeau next week.
Yep. So actually, no. Then I had them losing to the Packers on the road and then winning at home because I felt like – and could be totally different now with injuries. But the Packers did win, so it's not over for them. I felt like the Packers would have clinched maybe playoff contention and they wouldn't care about that last Vikings game as much. And then 3 NFC North teams would get into the playoffs. I still think that might happen now, but I think it's going to be the Vikings first, then the Lions, then the Packers. So it's crazy how – but again, it's 3 games, so let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Right.
Sam Darnold, and I'll talk about all that stuff later. But, yeah, no, you're right, Luke. When I look at the schedule – I don't know.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Top seed in the NFC right now, you guys. I'm looking at the playoff bracket. I'm trying to figure out who they're going to play after the bye week. It's fun times.
Yeah. I'm in Twins baseball playoff mode, checking those wild card standings. You're right, Sam. I think it's a lot funner to go check these Vikings playoff standings. You know, Sam, my thing was kind of very similar to last week heading into that San Francisco game. My thing was like, okay, win or lose, just another great litmus test. Where are you among the league's best? Where do you kind of stack up in the NFL? Because we just didn't know this offseason. There was just so many questions, so many new faces. It all looked so different, and it was just kind of hard to get a real pulse on what this team was going to look like. You know, the over-under win total in Vegas, I remember it was 7.5. Then it dropped to 6.5 the week leading up to week 1. So you stomped the Giants, didn't really move the needle that far as much as, kind of public perception goes. Then you beat San Francisco. It's like, okay, maybe we got something here. That's the NFC champions we just knocked off. Can you do it 2 weeks in a row? Versus really everybody's kind of sexy darling team in the AFC with this hotshot young quarterback named CJ Stroud. Just another great litmus test, I think, all in all, man. 2nd week in a row, they not only just went toe-to-toe with the league's best, they looked the part of the more dominating team for 60 full minutes. I just think when healthy, if healthy, which we'll get into some injuries in segment 2, these guys, this team should be competing every single week this season. So they just checked a lot of boxes in a lot of different departments again, Sam, for the 3rd week in a row. What's the headline read tomorrow for you?
Yeah, love Trey's comment. No heart palpitations, no sweaty hands, no nervousness. That's 3 games in a row. If not for a garbage time field goal by San Francisco, you've won all 3 of these games by multiple possessions. You've won 2 of your 3 games by 20 points or more. You are dominating. And you could nitpick, certainly, like Sam Darnold shouldn't be flinging the ball recklessly a couple times a game, but hard to find a weakness right now. Your secondary has 2 weeks in a row shut down a loaded room of weapons. Your offense is super efficient. It can run the ball well. It can pass the ball effectively. It converts on third down. Your kicker hasn't missed. He banged home a 58-yard field goal. Where's the weakness right now? We haven't seen it exposed yet. So maybe that's coming. Maybe there will be some adjustments against what the Vikings are doing defensively, like we saw last year. That's reasonable to expect. We haven't seen a real weakness yet. Sam Darnold looks the part. He today, I thought maybe didn't have his best game and still threw 4 touchdowns. Like just an all-around effort. Defense rallies to the ball. There's not a discernible weakness the Vikings have through 3 weeks.
Yeah, and I will say probably their biggest strength, and we'll get into it. Not only, first of all, I got to say 6-0 lifetime versus the Texans now, by the way, but they forced C.J. Stroud's first interception since like week 11, I want to say, versus the Cardinals last year on the opening drive too. Who would have thought? Who in the world would have thought this team would have started 3-0? I don't know if there was one expert in the entire country that thought the Minnesota Vikings would start this team 3-0. And to your point, Sam, like the thing is, like 2022, you think back, 13-4 record, all one-score wins. You knew that wasn't sustainable. They dropped to 7-10 last year. So far, though, through 3 games, all 3 victories, just been total domination by, I don't want to say total domination by all 3 phases because the special teams really hasn't done too much yet, but there's no fluky wins in here. There's no last second miracles or, but this play goes the other way and all of a sudden maybe that win turns into a loss. All these games, all these performances, they look like a complete football team, and they're not only 3-0, but again, they've knocked out 2 of the better teams in the entire league, including just a manhandling of the Texans today. So I guess, Ron, sustainability factor, for me, it feels like a 8 or a 9 out of 10 right now. This defense is going to keep them in these games every week. KOC, obviously putting on a masterclass, putting Sam Darnold in great positions. Will the Thrill, to your point, Sam, he looks great. What is the biggest differences you're seeing from 2022's team that went 13-4 and what we're getting right now here, Ron?
Dominance in defense, like the defense in 2022. So we know the whole 11 one-score games and no other NFL team had ever won. And then Peter Bukowski, DVOA, and the other shoe's gonna drop eventually. The other shoe did drop. Like the next year, they got exposed a little bit. Some of the guys were missing. Pieces of the puzzle were missing. Those pieces of the puzzle are here. Like, I don't know if you've ever done a 5,000 or 1,000 piece puzzle, Luke. We do them over Christmas with our whole family. And my family always jokes that I like to hide pieces so that at the end I can come in and finish it and be the person that finishes it. I don't do it on purpose. It just happens that way. Like now my family's all every time there's a missing piece at the end of the puzzle, they're like, check Ron's pockets. Because I know he's trying to. Brian Flores knew there were some missing pieces. He went out in free agency. Like we all were like, oh, I can't believe he let Danielle Hunter go. Oh, I can't believe he let DJ Wanham go. Like, who's going to rush the passer? Then he goes out and gets Jonathan Grenard. We're like, yeah, he was good for the Texans, but is he going to work for us? I don't know if you saw him sit that tight end down, but I was like, Jonathan, that man has a family. Like that man has parents.
Right.
That man has people that are counting on him, and you just sat him down. Like I hope ESPN puts that up on their big man, take a seat thing segments, because he told him to take a seat, take several seats, and get out of my way. And just him sacking C.J. Stroud, I know that was awesome for him. Same with like Blake Cashman. Blake Cashman putting a hit on C.J. Stroud. It's always good to hit the guy you used to play against because it just feels so much better. And for Blake to have those guys walk in the building, for Danielle to walk out the building, and we didn't even really notice Danielle besides a dirty hit on Sam Darnold. And again, it wasn't dirty. He did get pushed. But it was very like, oh my God, like our season over now. Like they're still going to win this game, but now it's going to be Nick Mullins. Nothing against Nick Mullins, no hate on him, but we need Sam Darnold. And so when you look at where Sam Darnold was 4 weeks ago, Sam Darnold was, JJ McCarthy's going to play. JJ McCarthy's going to come in eventually. Now it's like Sam Darnold needs to be signed to another year. And when you look at the defense, the reason why I say it's sustainable, Luke, is you look at the way they're doing it. They're getting sacks. They're getting interceptions. They're confusing quarterbacks. That C.J. Stroud and Brock Purdy are 2 of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and their coordinators are 2 of the best in the NFL. So, and their head coaches are 2 of the best in the NFL. So it's not like they're going out there playing against Rudy Poo teams like the Tennessee Titans. They're actually going out here or the New York Giants, because the New York Giants, they did it, and everybody's like, oh, yeah, whatever. The Giants aren't good. You did it against 2 good teams. Keep that same energy. Let's see what it looks like this week. But I think it's very sustainable, Luke, because when I counted numerous times how many guys are at the line of scrimmage, and never once did Flores do the same thing. I don't understand how he's doing it. I don't know if he has like some pen and paper over there and his guys are writing it down. He's like, hey, don't do this again because you did this last time. It's so hard because he's not showing you the same look ever. Like it's like Oregon Ducks uniforms. You're not going to wear the same uniform, and so you don't know what you're going to do. It's always different. I mean, at one point, Luke, he had the 2 wide nines with their hand in the ground.
Right.
Everybody else between the tackles was standing up. As a tackle, you're like, wait a minute, this is my guy because his hand's in the ground. But what do I do with these 5 guys in front of me?
Right.
And that's hard to decide. And so that's why I think this Minnesota Vikings defense is sustainable. I will say, eventually, like Aaron Rodgers, maybe somebody's going to figure it out. Because again, we're tendency humans. The only way to get out of a tendency, and you've seen movies like what was it with Tom Cruise when he had his eyes, he had to get fake eyes.
Minority Report.
Exactly. Eventually, if you just do something that does not even make sense, you can fool everybody. I think that's what Brian Flores may be doing. He might just be out here on some Minority Report stuff, just doing random stuff so nobody can figure out the pattern.
Sam's going to go look up Minority Report on IMDb right now real quick. Yeah, you're totally right, though, man. Cashman, the revenge games. The Revenge Games.
That's a great movie.
It's a great movie. Steven Spielberg helped produce. You got to check that one out, man.
Tom Cruise. He got his eyes taken out, Sam, and he put fake eyes in.
It's pretty legit. It's pretty legit. No, you're right though, Ron. The revenge game factor, right? The games within the games, as far as Cashman, he made some huge plays. Obviously, started the game out with a huge play with that tipped interception. Grenard 3 sacks. Are you kidding me? Other side.
What about Grugier Hill though?
Grugier Hill.
Yeah, Grugier Hill. That was a big question mark. No Ivan Pace.
Ivan Pace being out, Grugier Hill deserved snaps.
Yes.
Dude started the game off with an interception and an almost punched out fumble return down to like the whatever 8-9 yard line. So
that was huge.
I was hoping, like when I saw the replay, I was hoping that Gilmore had scooped it in the air.
Yeah.
Because that's what we thought at first. We thought it was an interception, and then they replayed it. We're like, no, it's a fumble. And then they were like, nope, he never really had possession. Even though I thought he caught it and moved it. But
just another small victory for Kwesi on his resume. Like, I got the Grenards and Van Ginkels, but even guys like Grugier Hill, the glue of the cracks of a roster, for sure, looking good here through 3 weeks. And on the other side too, I was just going to say revenge game factor. Danielle Hunter, pretty quiet for the most part for being Danielle Hunter. Diggs, pretty efficient, good stats, but just not enough over there to get them in the win column. Lots more to get into. I want to talk about KOC's kind of evolution, Brian Flores' masterclass, and the running game. Aaron Jones with 100 yards today. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, today's episode brought to you by DoorDash. DoorDash, we've all been there. Dinner's long gone. The fridge is empty. You still got the itch for maybe one more meal. Perfect time to open up the DoorDash app with all your favorite restaurants and grocery stores at your fingertips. You name it, they got it. It's delivered right to your doorstep. No questions asked. Easy to use, convenient as it gets. What I love the most, without a doubt, how in-depth and detailed you can get with your orders. DoorDash offers you the peace of mind and ability to customize your order every time to your liking to get exactly what you're craving for a limited time. Get 50% off your first order, up to a $10 value when you use code LOCKEDFALL24 at checkout. That's 50% off, up to $10. One more time, use code LOCKEDFALL24 for 50% off your first order, up to a $10 value with DoorDash. DoorDash, your door to game day greatness. Terms and conditions apply. Just real quick, any injury updates we got to just roll through here real quick? Obviously, JJ had the big stinger last week. Dallas Turner, Ivan Pace didn't play. Jordan Addison did. Any injuries I may have missed that we need to comb through or just touch on real quick, maybe the ripple effect moving forward? Anybody?
Yeah. No, I mean, there were a handful of seemingly minor ones that apparently are okay. The Darnold scare, obviously the biggest one. He goes out left knee and then takes another hit late in the game by Settle. I think Settle got him both, or no, Hunter got him the first time. Settle got him the second time. Seems like he dodged a bullet. Jefferson with the finger, pinky finger, I think it was right hand, might have affected his ability to hold on to the one catch. And then he had a one-handed opportunity a little later, wasn't able to haul it in. That's something to monitor. O'Neal went down for a minute. He's been on the injury report the first 2 weeks, so he's not playing 100%.
Yeah.
And then there was a curious moment. I don't know if you noticed this, where Darisaw was replaced on the final touchdown drive, or the final touchdown drive by Quessenberry.
Okay.
But I think he returned. So I think you had 4 pretty important players go down and all returned to the game. So knock on wood. Hopefully you've got the same crew out there for Green Bay. Maybe you add Jordan Addison to the mix as well.
Can we just talk about this home field advantage? Last week on the football party, Arif laughed at my face. He goes, dude, every team, every fan base says they got the best fans in the league. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and get into which team's got the better fan base, but that home field advantage today, when's the last time you've seen a tackle have 5 false starts, let alone how many penalties did the Texans have today? That was a big, big piece to this puzzle today as well. You don't dominate a good team like that without them shooting themselves in the foot here or there, multiple false starts, tons of penalties. That home field advantage is just on another level on the broadcast. They talked about it being up there with Seattle. It's got to be in that top 5, top 10 right now. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it was crazy. We were watching it like live, and it was, I mean, I know I posted a video of the standing ovation. I haven't posted the video yet, maybe, but I got a video of when they got, I think it was like 124 decibels. That got loud. And you could see even Cam Bynum at one point had to cover his ears because he was trying to like talk to guys and they were trying to figure stuff out. He couldn't hear what guys were saying and they were right on the field with them. So it was crazy like how loud it was. But the one thing we all noticed is that one time where I think it was like 5 in a row, they were in the red zone and they ended up having to punt. Like that's how crazy it was. Like they should have got a field goal on that minimum. And because of the crowd and the noise and the one, I will say the Vikings got lucky because I think it was 92 who did it. He jumped off, pushed the guard, and then he grabbed his own head like, oh, I can't believe I did that because he thought like, wait, that's not a. And the refs gave him the false start because if you watch, the guard points quick and the center moves his head up and they're like, well, that's enough to induce. So they gave it to him. So he got very lucky because his guy didn't actually move. It was the center who moved, but the refs aren't looking at that. He pushed the guard and they just said, well, the center lifting his head up, which technically you're not supposed to lift it up fast like that. You're supposed to slowly lift up and then snap. He jumped up and then was about to go. And yeah, they got lucky there. But yeah, 5 in a row and push him out of field goal range.
Quick plug too. The Locked On Texans postcast probably feels a little different than the vibe here, but they've got Wade Smith over there, former Texans lineman, joining that show. If you want to get an explanation on the O-line situation for Houston, go check out Locked On Texans postcast when you're done here, of course.
Guys, I mean, since KOC's been here, and this was like one of my bigger A topics all off season, he's never had a running game. Yes, I know he had Dalvin Cook, kind of a home run hitter, though last year with Madison didn't really pan out. Aaron Jones today, 24 touches, 148 all-purpose yards. Ron, what does it do to finally have a running game when you have a new quarterback in here? You got a lot of moving pieces, no Hawkinson, no Addison, but you can lean on this run game, man. A lot of people thought Aaron Jones was toast, a wrong side of 28, 29 years old. He's still got some speed, and more importantly, he's not afraid to go churn out those 4 or 5 yard gains in between the tackles. I've been so impressed with this running game this year.
So if you guys watched the pregame show today, I said the Vikings as a team will rush for 120 yards. They rushed for 118. I'm so annoyed at that because there were some negative runs that affected this net rushing. So they actually, in my opinion, I'm going to give them 120 yards rushing. I think it's semantics with the whole like, oh, he got sacked or he got this or whatever. I think Aaron Jones or one of the guys had a negative run. But 120 yards, I said, if they can get that, they win this game. And they did. And Aaron Jones, I said, he's going to have a day. Like, I felt like he was going to have a day. And he did. Like, the dude sat up and said, like, if you watch him hit the hole, he just hits the hole fast. Like, it's no wasted movements. He's so quick through the lines. And that's what we've been wanting. You put that running game with those receivers, and you don't have TJ Hawkinson. You don't have Jordan Addison. You don't have your guys. Like, you don't have your other weapons. That's what's even crazier about this offense is this is a Super Bowl caliber offense. This defense is a Super Bowl caliber defense. They've now given up 3 touchdowns this season. 3 touchdowns. That's it. 3 touchdowns in 3 games. That's crazy.
Yeah. They've allowed on average 10 points per game. I think that is absolutely insane. And again, against a Kyle Shanahan San Francisco offense and this Houston Texans three-headed monster with those receivers and CJ Stroud. Sam, what is like the ceiling, man? I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves here, right? This game just ended. It's still fresh. It's still raw, but TJ Hawkinson, arguably a top 5 tight end. We saw what he did even with a guy like Josh Dobbs in there. I remember that Saints game. Dude had like 8 catches for 100 yards at halftime. He is he's kind of quarterback proof is my point. And then you get Jordan Addison back. We saw what he can do, a first-round wide receiver. What is the ceiling of this offense as they continue to gel and get healthy, as the weeks go on, I guess?
Yeah, as good as they've been, I still think that there's something untapped in this offense. I think today they took advantage of their takeaways. They put together a handful of fantastic drives. But on the whole, I think 4.6 yards per play, it's not that amazing. And at times, I felt like Darnold needed a second option out there. I thought Jefferson kind of feasted early. They shut him down a little bit. And if you look at the box scores throughout the first 3 weeks, beyond Jefferson, no one else is really lighting it up. Sherfield had 1 catch today. Munt had a catch today. Powell had a catch today. Naylor had 3 catches, found the end zone again, as he does. But they don't have an explosive second option. They're trying to piecemeal it together in the aggregate. But if you get a Hawkinson and or an Addison back, you legitimately have someone to take a little tension away from Justin Jefferson and free things up for him. So I still think that this offense can get a lot better. I think that Sam Darnold is still going to settle in more and more every week that goes by. And Aaron Jones running the way he did today, I still maintain that is Sam Darnold's best friend right there. A robust rushing attack, which has now 3 weeks in a row. I believe as a team, they're over 100 yards. And that's outstanding. Jones was great today. Don't you just trust him? If it's third and short, you just trust him to pick up the first down. You didn't trust Alexander Madison last year. You didn't. Like 3rd and 1 at Cincinnati, trying to win a game. You didn't believe they were going to get it, and they didn't. And this year, I think if you're in that situation in a big game, you trust pitching the ball, handing the ball to number 33.
Yeah, I want to talk about these coaches just for a second here because I mean, honestly, we could probably have a whole 30-minute episode about these coaches, but I don't know if you guys saw it. The Star Trib came out with a pretty cool article about the dark side of KOC because he's got this like kind of public persona of being Mr. Nice Guy, the baby face and all that, but he's got this dark side that can come out if they're not playing up to the standard. It was a really great piece, first of all. I think my number one takeaway, though, is you think back now, this is year 3, his evolution as a head coach year by year, the way he's evolved, the way he's grown as a head coach, not just an offensive coordinator or a play caller, but as a true head coach, he's really started to get the respect, the kind of popularity he's already started to establish across the league. I mean, I don't know if you were to poll through 3 weeks, everybody in the league, where is he? He's got to be in the top 10, maybe even top 5 because he's one of the last undefeated teams standing. You pair him with Brian Flores, who I don't think anybody is going to argue he's a top 5 defensive coordinator in this league. Just this combo. Talk to me about this combo of Kevin O'Connell, the way he's evolved, and now Brian Flores. You got 2 kind of guys drawing up some master classes each week, both on offense and defense. How important is that in today's NFL? I think coaching still kind of goes under the radar and underrated from time to time.
No, coaching doesn't go under the radar. That's why people get fired all the time. Like, that's why the Carolina Panthers, their coaching staff's already on the hot seat. That's why, the Bears coaching staff, they know if they don't win, they're probably like, you got rid of Luke Getsy and you still can't really do anything offensively. We'll see what happens today with them. But here's where they lost.
Bears lost. Scored 16 points. Not great.
Yep. I'll take that because then that means the Vikings are going to absolutely probably put up 40 on them. No, I'm not going to. No. I'm not going to get too high on them because I don't want to do it. Because the minute I get high on them, then they let us down. So I'm going to stick with I'm going to keep being a hater. But here's where I go with this, Luke, with coaching. The one thing we have to pray is that Brian Flores doesn't go somewhere else because this defense has been proven now that it works. He made Sam Darnold see ghosts when he was in New England. He then went to the Dolphins and made them better. Think about this. They fired Brian Flores, but they didn't fire his defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So clearly you wanted that defensive scheme. You just wanted maybe somebody that would kiss Tua's butt, or you wanted somebody a little bit more offensive savvy. You also wanted somebody who couldn't say you told them to tank for Tua. Now you look at this offense and this defense here, married together, works well. For Brian Flores, if I'm Brian Flores and I can comfortably make $1.5 million, $2 million, maybe even $3 million a year, I'm probably staying with KOC. Like, there's no pressure when you're a defensive coordinator and you just sit around and wait. You just, be a 15-year defensive coordinator making $2-3 mil. Who's not going to be happy with $2-3 mil? Like, just keep the 2-3 mil. Like, you can be comfortable and you're going to continue to build this team. But yeah, I mean, that's me just hoping that he doesn't leave. I mean, we know eventually somebody's going to want him because he's doing really well. But their marriage together works together with the way they do it, like the way they play together, the way he understands, hey, you give me a short field. Today, Luke, at one point, it was 18 minutes to 12 minutes in favor of the Texans, and the Texans were losing 14-0 just because Brian Flores kept giving them a short field. So it works, and Kevin O'Connell plays off of it, and he's not shy at going after these guys. Like, he doesn't come in and say, okay, I'm going to run the ball 3 times because that's what the analytics tell me. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And that's where Kevin O'Connell, I love the way these two are coaching together.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I thought like, all right, you got Randy Moss, you just throw it up to Randy Moss. The last 5-10 years specifically, though, I've just realized how important coaching is. And specifically inside that element, the coach quarterback relationship is now more important than ever. And I think, again, I think the Vikings through 3 weeks have checked a lot of boxes on both sides of the ball. One more quick segment, do a little quick sneak peek at week 4 versus the Packers in Lambeau, the potential return of Jordan Love. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, today's episode also brought to us by FanDuel. You heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Well, we got something a little bit different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need, a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. Go check it out at FanDuel today. Get in on some Monday Night Football action while you're there. Doubleheader tomorrow night. Jags, Bills, Commanders, Bengals. I like Keon Coleman to finally get in the end zone at plus 150. It's all up over at FanDuel.com. Again, go check it out over at FanDuel.com. By the way, real quick, we'll be doing a full deep dive into every nook and cranny of this thing tomorrow on the Minnesota Football Party with our guy, Arif Hassan. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, keep up with all the action. That's every Monday and Thursday. Vikes, by the way, probably still going to be #1 in the NFL in sacks now. They got 5 more on CJ Stroud today. Who's been the biggest kind of unsung hero? I was going to say on the defensive side of the ball, but it can be anywhere. We knew Van Ginkel was going to be a dude. I didn't know he was going to be an absolute baller. Cashman's been a machine. Pat Jones got a lot of love last week with all those sacks. Who's been a kind of unsung hero, underrated guy that's having a huge impact on this team? Ron, what do you got?
You said an underrated guy?
Yeah, kind of unsung. Pat Jones got a lot of love last week.
I'm sticking with my guy. I'm going with Jalen Nailor. Like, if you watch what Jalen Nailor does, he continues to not allow people to just double Justin Jefferson. In the pregame show, we kept saying like, oh, they're not going to let Jefferson be the guy. They're not going to let Jefferson get off. And then when you watch, you're like, wait, how is Jefferson so wide open, or why is he wide open across the middle? As if you don't know, it's his name is Justin Jefferson. But here's why. You look at Jalen Nailor, he is just a pivotal piece. Like that touchdown, technically, Aaron Jones, if he doesn't do the booty bump and throw the hip out there, the touchdown stands. Also proven that he used to do that a ton with the Packers, and they never called it because it was Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. So the way he did it, he always did it that way. It just never got thrown. Whoa, conspiracy. I wonder why. It never got thrown against Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, I think Jalen Nailor to me is underrated, unsung, because he continues to just make catches here and there. There's only 3 catches, but a lot of them were crucial first downs. Like the one he almost got where he was the tip ball, and he almost got that toe in, but it came down out of bounds. I still like Jalen Nailor. The other one, and nobody's noticing this, Ed Ingram's doing pretty good.
I was just going to say, you got to pick one of these guards here, right?
Ed Ingram is not like I thought it was going to, like even the step on the foot thing today.
Right.
It was, I think it ended up being Bradbury. I can't confirm, but it did not look like it didn't like Ingram because Ingram went to the right. So yeah, I got to give it to Ingram. He's been very consistent. I see Chris L in the chat says Blake Brandel's very underrated. I agree. But yeah, I just think we were all wondering if Dalton Reisner would take Ingram's spot.
Yep.
He looks good.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the commenters are all over it for me. It's the combination of Stephon Gilmore, Byron Murphy, and Shaq Griffin.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't had one worry about those three at all through 3 weeks. So sound, so solid. They're even when plays get made, like the Nico Collins catch on the Texans touchdown drive, 3rd and 11, loops it to the sideline. Great catch by Collins, but Murphy's tight. Like Murphy's right there. And I feel like all the big plays generally, they've still had a body in place, and you can't really argue when offenses make great plays. The secondary's been awesome. Gilmore hadn't played with this group until late August. I don't remember the exact date. Griffin missed 3 or 4 weeks, right? Like, how insane is this that this secondary is playing at that kind of level with such limited time together? It's astounding to me. They've taken on, again, the 49ers, possibly the NFC favorite, the Texans, one of the AFC favorites, both rich with weapons, and neutralized them. Totally neutralized them. Unbelievable efforts by that group. And then on the back end, I mean, holding it all together, the Hitman and Bynum making big plays. Hitman's been quiet this year generally. I think he had a pick in the last game, but been unbelievable. The entire secondary, huge hat tip.
Yeah, everybody talks about the JJ Stephon Diggs trade, kind of a win-win. Don't forget, in that trade, you also got a day 3 pick. You turned into Cam Bynum as well. That worked out pretty good for the Vikings. How about a quick sneak peek to the Packers game next week in Lambeau? I guess the A topic's probably going to be, is Jordan Love playing? Feels like he's going to make his comeback. I would think. He was limited all week in practice, but it felt like he was kind of close. Ron, you played in the league. Obviously, first of all, they're much more dangerous with Love than like a Malik Willis. But how much does the Russ factor play into this whole kind of puzzle piece, if you will, coming off an injury like that? Not to mention the potential kind of lack of mobility he might be dealing with as well.
Yeah. So again, if you are winning, do you just make the switch just because it's your starter and he's not 100% healthy? Right. If I'm not 100%, meaning I can't move laterally fast enough, because again, a knee, you got to be quick. And that's why I'm worried about Sam Darnold. Like he looked a little ginger, like some of his movements after he got hurt, he wasn't moving as quick. My guess is they probably rehab the crap out of it this week, ice it up, heat it up, and then he'll probably wear some type of knee sleeve or something. And hopefully maybe it was just a calf sort of. I mean, who knows what it was, but it looked like the knee kind of got thrown into the ground. So hopefully it's nothing crazy, because I'm pretty sure they're going to look at it after the game anyway, because he is the number 1 quarterback. For Jordan Love, when I see what he does to these healthy quarterbacks like Brock Purdy, like CJ Stroud, I mean, this is the 2nd week in a row the Vikings have had 2 interceptions and 5+ sacks. Like, it's crazy. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I throw Jordan Love out there to the Wolves. I mean, that's literally like going into the ocean with the Meg. I know Sam hasn't seen that movie. Sam's never seen the Meg or the Meg 2. Jason Statham, great movie.
I'm a Jaws guy.
I'm a Jaws guy.
That's like going out into you got to see the Meg then, Sam. You got to see the Meg.
No, Sam only sees movies 30 years after it was released.
If you go out to the ocean and you take some chum and you cut up some fish and you just throw bloody fish into the ocean and expect the Meg not to come. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing to Jordan Love right now. If you throw him out there injured, because the minute the Vikings can smell that he can't move, that's smelling blood in the water. They're just going to swarm, and that's what. And then you swarm to the point where you say, let's swarm and play coverage behind it and force them to throw it a little bit early. And that's what you saw for the interceptions today. They kept coming, and eventually they're like, let's fake like we're going to go. And let's keep enough guys in space that if he makes a bad throw, it's an interception.
The mental exhaustion Brian Flores has put on these first 3 quarterbacks, like they are going to bed at night with nightmares about this defense. Sam, I cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the Packers got pretty lucky that they got the Colts and Titans in the 2 games without Jordan Love. I mean, right. Anthony Richardson and Will Levis. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the take give was last week, but they turned the Titans over 3 times today, including a pick 6. They ran the ball down the Colts' throat last week. Malik Willis actually got his legs going today. I watched a lot of that game on the second screen during the Vikings game. And yeah, I mean, every time I looked up, Willis was loose, Jacobs was loose. They're running the ball really well. It's almost as if you bring Love back into the fold. You kind of have to go back to more of your traditional game plan, which I don't know, is there in some crazy way easier to game plan for because you kind of know what to expect with a Jordan Love approach versus the wild card of the Packers the last 2 weeks. They've just been so unpredictable. So I know Ron's got to bounce here for his radio duties, but yeah, I think that I would invite Jordan Love to come back. I think it'll be a good matchup either way, but the Packers can play some defense and they can run the ball. So whoever's at quarterback, I think there's a challenge to be had there, especially at Lambeau. 2-1 Packers, 3-0 Vikings. That's going to be like a featured game noon next Sunday.
Ron, I know you got to bounce 30 seconds. Last one. Give me your favorite week 3 observation, just what's sticking out around the NFL right now after some quick scoreboard watching.
I feel like it's opposite day. Like when you look at who's winning and who's losing. So I do a pick 'em for my wife every week now at her job, her school.
Oh, do they know that? We're live here. Do they know Ron's making the picks?
Yes, they do know because she won week 1. And when I went to take her coffee to school, the head dean was like, "Hey, congratulations on the win week 1." And I was like, "Huh?" He's like, "The picks." I was like, "Oh no." And I was like, "That's my wife." He's like, No. We all know it's you."
No. We got it. Yeah. It's your wife.
And then my wife told her, she's like, "Hey, nothing says you guys can't use your husbands or your wives. Like, what are you doing?"
Mm-hmm.
And so when I made the picks this week, it's kind of crazy. I mean, I'm kind of on. Like, I picked the 49ers to beat the Rams. I picked the Ravens to beat the Cowboys. No, sorry. I think I picked the Cowboys to beat the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
I picked the Seahawks to beat the Dolphins. I'm there, but I picked the Raiders to beat the Panthers. The Panthers scored 14 points already, like in 2 quarters. I did pick the Lions to beat the Cardinals. Who knows what's going to happen there? But here's the ones that threw me off. The Bears, the Bears losing. I picked them to lose, but the Giants beating the Browns, the Saints losing to the Eagles, and the Steelers beating the Chargers, and the Broncos blowing out the Bucks. So what stands out to me, man, is like right now in the NFL, what we thought was going to happen this season might not happen this season. Like the Commanders might beat the Bengals tomorrow. Like it's a change. Like the way this is feeling right now. Like I did pick the Jets to beat the Patriots. So she's probably in good standing right now. But I did not expect some of these teams to win the way they're winning. And so I think the Vikings are the biggest surprise. By the way, 6 teams entered this week 2-0. 2 emerged as 3-0 so far. So
Vikings and who do we got? Vikings and
Steelers.
The Steel crew, man. Mike
Justin
Tomlin.
Fields and Sam Darnold. Perfect 3-0.
Yeah,
boy. I'm out of here.
All right, Ron. All right, Ron. That's Ron Johnson. Check him out every Tuesday on the Ron Johnson Show. My thing was, Sam, I know they lost today, but are the Saints legit? 2-0 coming in, highest point differential in the league. They just went toe-to-toe with the Eagles for 60 minutes. I know maybe not the Eagles we were used to when they went to the Super Bowl, lost to the Chiefs, but yeah, the Saints, man, I had them as like a bottom 3 team this year. Never thought they would get off to a hot start like they are. Any NFL observations as you scoreboard watch?
Yeah, I mean, Saints, I would say, plummeted back to earth a bit today. Regression to the mean. I don't think they scored a touchdown until their 2-minute drive at the end. So that will regulate the numbers quite a bit and maybe affect the way we view things. I think we react all the time too much after 2 games. I think that it's a long season and teams can recover. And we're still going to see some unexpected results like Bo Nix. Okay, he was really bad for 2 weeks, but it doesn't mean he can't get better because he's a rookie and he was really good today for the Broncos. That's a huge win for Denver at Tampa. So it took them down a rung. We'll see if the Cardinals can keep this up. They've looked really good for 2 weeks offensively, now taking on a Detroit team who's looked a little down offensively. I just think that the pendulum swings so much week to week that, like you said, you don't want to overreact, and you don't want to overreact too much about the Vikings, but it's hard not to when you are literally, no one has a better resume than the Vikings, not the Chiefs right now. I mean, the Vikings have the best resume through 3 weeks in a vacuum in the NFL. That is an objective fact.
Yeah, and to your point, Sam, there's no 2022 games where it's like, yeah, but 1 score possession. No, clean victories, checking a lot of boxes, past 2 huge litmus tests, beat the Niners, beat the Texans. They take care of business, 34-7. They remain undefeated. 6-0 versus the Texans now, all time. Defense is averaging just 10 points allowed per game. I'm telling you, I don't see a loss on the schedule. Packers on the road next week. Kickoff for that one, another 12 p.m. start time. Hey, huge shout out to all the everydayers that always make us your first listen. Go check out all Ron's work every Tuesday on the Ron Johnson Show. Sam Ekstrom right here hosting us on the Minnesota Football Party every Monday and Thursday. Should be a fantastic episode tomorrow. You don't want to miss that. Go like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm Luke Inman on X, at Luke_Spinman. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place right here after Vikes Packers in Lambeau. But until then, signing out.